Edgy. If we look up the meaning of the word here on Urban Dictionary, oh wait, oops, sorry, not that kind of edgy. Here we go. Edgy. Something or someone trying too hard to be cool, almost to the point where it's cringeworthy. And yes, while that does sound like a perfect description of all of us in our youth and maybe brings back a few repressed and vaulted memories of having a little too much faith in that fart, or maybe that time you walked in on your parents and accidentally ruined their wrestling match, it is also a word that many use to describe Akame ga Kill. And today, folks, I'm going to tell you why not only are they wrong, but stupid and ugly, and their mother doesn't really love them, she only tolerates them while hoping one day that they will shave their neckbeard and move out of her basement. So, strap in, have mom bring down some good old mac and cheese, and enjoy the video. First airing in 2014, Akame ga Kill is classified as dark action fantasy, and while that might just sound like a description of your typical Tuesday night, alone in your dark room with your fake girlfriend and trusty right hand, it is a pretty accurate description of the show. To sum up the plot for you, essentially you have the main protagonist Tatsumi, who begins the show very lighthearted and goofy, but after making his way to the capital to earn money to send back to his village, he's quickly made aware of the deep-rooted corruption in said capital. This results in him ending up joining Night Raid, a group of assassins used by the revolutionary forces to begin fighting back against this corruption and put a stop to the child emperor who is being manipulated behind the scenes by Prime Minister Honest.
You can count on me to look after that beautiful wife you're leaving behind. I'll be sure to satisfy all her needs. And I do mean all of them.
Sounds like a pretty good plot to me, and the first episode does a fantastic job with the old bait and switch, which really hooked me in right away. So then, why does everyone say it's edgy? Well, because just about all the main characters, save for the two who are able to escape White Fox's wrath, are dead by the end of the show. Yep, that's it. I have dug through so many reviews and comments on the show, and so many deep and analytical commenters are writing these paragraph-long reviews that really just boil down to, they killed everyone in the show, I didn't like that they did that, therefore the show is edgy. If they had any substance behind these critiques, I would get it, but it's literally just killing characters is something a show only does for shock factor and to be edgy. Personally, I have a lot of respect for a show that's willing to kill off a character, especially a good character, and double especially if they actually stay dead and don't get revived because they just so happen to have died on a Sunday morning at 8:36 a.m. on the day of a full moon during a leap year that another character had all planned out in the beginning to bring him back anyways. A quick comparison I always think of when I hear how much flack Akame ga Kill gets is how much praise Star Wars Rogue One got. What a lot of people consider to be the last good piece of Star Wars content, along with The Mandalorian, was really just shamelessly stealing its story from Akame ga Kill just 2 years later. No, but seriously, I want to know why one show is praised for being a realistic portrayal of rebels fighting against the corrupt empire for a noble cause, only to lay down their lives in order to reach their goal, which pushes into motion the events that will eventually lead to peace and the rebuilding of a nation, and the other is called a cringy edge fest. And now, let's take a second and look at a very obviously not cherry-picked review and delve into the mind of your average anime critic. And obviously this review is very long, so we're just gonna go ahead and read some of the good bits here. So let's start with the main character. Don't let his outside appearance fool you. His constitution as well as his personality is very basic and just stupid. Then there's the romance. It's really bad. No positive things to say about it. The antagonist actually falls in love with the protagonist. Very odd, right? Oh, did I mention how all the characters in the show die? From beginning to end, they are treated like pawns in a game of chess. No, actually, pawns would be killed for a logical and strategical reason. And this show kills off the characters for no apparent reason. And the whole time I was watching every character get killed off, I thought to myself, nah, there's probably gonna be an arc in the show where they all come back to life, right? 9 out of 17 found this helpful. And now, I hope you have a little better of an idea as to why I find these reviews so annoying. So, what constitutes a good death?
That's a good death. That's a good death.
I've talked a lot about how the biggest complaint of this show is that most of the characters die by the end of it, but I haven't actually defended the deaths themselves. As if the characters did all die pointless deaths, then that would be a very fair criticism to make. So let's look at all these deaths and break them down. One rule that is stated very early on in the show is that when two wielders of Imperial arms meet in battle, one of them will always die. When we are introduced to the group Night Raid, we are, over time, given their reasons as to why they're more than willing to lay down their lives for the causes that they believe in, and accept death as being the most likely outcome for them as well. We are also shown throughout the show just how disparagingly large the differences in strength and resources are between the rebels and the capital. With all this information, the show is practically screaming at us that death is inevitable, and it's time to dust off the old Kleenex box. But, this time not for its usual job. Shiel is the screw-up of the group, who fails at everything that she does, except for murder, but has finally found a group of people where she is loved and appreciated for the talent that she does have. She dies fighting Seiryu Ubiquitous, who is the first of the Jaegers that we meet, and she's also someone who is modified by Dr. Stylish and had the first biological Imperial arms that we had seen in the show. Shiel's death gave a great amount of valuable information to Night Raid and was a large motivator for Tatsumi and mine to grow stronger. Bulat was arguably the strongest member of Night Raid, right next to Akame, who acted as a big brother figure to Tatsumi while he was getting accustomed to his new life. He is the main reason for Tatsumi's mental and physical strength, as well as being the person Tatsumi modeled his fighting style after. He died fighting the Three Beasts trio, killing Daidara with ease, saving Tatsumi from Budo more than once, and taking down General Liver. General Liver, whom I might add, was using performance-enhancing drugs, had a water-based Imperial arms on a boat in a river, and was Esdeath's #1 guy at the time. On top of all that, he still only takes down Bulat after losing the battle by poisoning him with his own blood. His death leaves a powerful impression on Tatsumi, whom Bulat transferred Incursio to, which becomes the weapon he will wield for the rest of the show. Chelsea was able to take down bowls of the Jaegers and was a reminder to the group that you can't take the Jaegers seriously enough and that there is strength in numbers. She also gave us one of the darkest moments in the show where Tatsumi finds her head impaled on a pole in the center of town. And of course, I can't talk about Chelsea without mentioning how sad Bowl's death was as well. One like equals one prayer for the pyromaniac who never ended up making it home to his wife and daughter. Lubbock was a man with no real reason to fight the capital, except for the reason that most men are willing to lay down their lives. For a smoking babe that could bench press 20 of you and not break a sweat, who you fell in love with at first sight. He found himself facing off against a juiced-up narcissist with one of the most deadly powers we had seen yet in the show. He was also betrayed by the girl he rescued and was still able to take Shiora down before falling to his death. with the boss being the last thing he thought of on his way out. Susanoo was a biological Imperial Arms who gained a great deal of humanity during his time with Night Raid, seeming much more like a person rather than a weapon by the end. He died fighting Esdeath, giving the remaining members of Night Raid enough time to escape with their lives and plan their final moves against the capital. Mine was a girl who originally seemed like nothing but a spoiled brat, but whose actions and personality were much more justified when we learned of her backstory and why she chooses to fight for Night Raid. She died from injuries received while fighting General Budo, who was the most powerful member of the Imperial Empire besides Esdeath. In doing so, Mine not only took out a threat that the rest of Night Raid were ill-equipped to deal with, but also incited the revolution further with such a powerful figurehead being removed from the opposing side. Leone was the big sister of the group, and the one to save Tatsumi at the start and recruit him to Night Raid, even if she only did it due to feeling guilty about tricking Tatsumi out of his money by using her, biggest assets.
Hey, you're that girl with the boobs!
Yep, that's what they call me.
And if anyone in the group had a pointless death, my vote would be for Leone. Not in the sense that she didn't accomplish anything leading up to her death. Her beatdown of Prime Minister Honest was absolutely one of the most satisfying parts of the show, but in the sense that I feel she just kind of took those shots unnecessarily and then didn't even try to get any help after. Now that all very well could be because she was depressed that the rest of her family had just died, but she still had plenty of friends and Akame and the boss to live for. But, being in immense physical pain and not telling anybody because, you don't want to bother anybody, I'll just deal with it myself. That's relatable. I feel that. And then, to top off the list, of course we have Tatsumi, who, while a little contrived, dies in the typical heroic fashion of winning the fight, but sacrificing himself to save the lives of the innocent people about to get crushed. It really is one of the more mediocre deaths in the show, and while not outright bad, I can also see where a lot of the complaints come from, especially based on how different this was than the manga.
Tatsumi, from the moment I laid eyes on you, all I wanted was for us to be together.
So, all in all, now that I've defended the show, what do I think about it as a whole? Well, all jokes aside, if I can take the show's out of my mouth for just a moment, I really do get where a lot of the criticisms of this show come from. I enjoyed the heck out of it, and it will always be one of my favorite shows and one of the most painful and emotional animes I've ever watched. But it is 1000% not a show without flaw. There are plenty of times where the pacing switches between that of my wheelchair-bound grandma trying to climb the stairs I just pushed her down, all the way to your girlfriend coming over to my place after I hit up her DMs. And while the main characters feel very fleshed out, a lot of the side characters feel very tropey and just thrown in to have as extra bodies to add to the ditch out back. The story, while interesting, is very straightforward, leaving much of the world and its people unexplored, but always has time for another cartoonishly evil villain. And also, in all honesty, the majority of the reviews for Akame ga Kill are giving it pretty high marks for what's considered to be such a controversial show. My biggest complaints were simply just the highly critical reviews of pseudo-intellectuals filling paragraph after paragraph with complaints worded in different ways that could have simply been boiled down to, I believe the show is edgy because it's violent, gory, and kills off all the main characters. In the end though, I'm not even mad at the comments anymore.
I hope you're not mad.
No, I'm not mad.
I'm simply mad at myself for making me read through so many reviews just for a poorly made Akame ga Kill video who no one's gonna care about in 2022.